make a move and the bunny gets it.
I said, put the bunny back in the box. Why couldn't you put the bunny back in the box?
It's showtime.
Psychically, I'm very well endowed.
I wanna know what you're thinking. There are some things you can't hide. I wanna know what you're feeling. Tell me what's on your mind.
Hey there, welcome to Monday's show. It's the Gen X Files. It's pop culture from the Gen X perspective, written by the ones who were there, or pretty much from the people who were there when it was written, which is pretty much Gen X. Anyway, got a today is kind of like the St. Patrick's Day. Everybody's wearing green. I got a little green on myself, and well, I decided to bring on a fellow Irishman to have his talk. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Happy St. Patrick's
Hey, no
Day.
problem, no problem, no problem. Hey. Yeah, Aaron Gombra. Anyway, I probably mispronounced that, but I don't care. It is what it is. Anyway.
It's all right. We're Americans with chunks of Irish.
There you go. Hell, I can't stick around tonight. Want to stop by, drop a like, have a great show. All right, thank you, Wrangler. Thank you, man.
Hello, Wrangler. Have one for me.
Yeah, definitely one of my regulars. Well, if people were looking, Ben Phelps said hell earlier. Hey, Ben, what's up, dude? He's probably, I think he's at work, so he might not be able to comment too much. But anyway, if people were expecting us to have a debate, I don't know we're going to have much of a debate because we're pretty much on the same page with a lot of things. And basically, you're taking a little bit of a different tact. I say we need to bring masculinity back, and you're like, masculinity is still there. You just need to leave it the hell alone. I think that's the stance you're taking, right?
That actually sums it up pretty well. And I'll just start with masculinity and what it is originally or defined as or perceived as. And, masculinity.
Yeah. Let's start that.
Yeah. There's genotype and phenotype, like what you are inside and what you look like outside. And certain people have fur rugs on their neck and bras down to here and traps up to here. Naturally, they're thugging around like big gorillas, and there's no doubt they're dudes, and that situation is masculinity. The outside appearance showed. Right. There's also the internal way you can act. You can act the same way because it's part of your nature. And that whole debate of masculine and feminine, that's just what it is, and I'm not going to debate about what it's become or what people want to call it. That's up to everyone to take care of themselves. But that nature being shown in comics of masculinity was in many ways heroing up the common man, right? I know I feel a little bit more confident when I'm in shape, and when I was 30 years younger and I was 220 pounds,
Right.
and the ladies like me, the dudes like me, we're all good. But as you get older or frail or out of shape, you wish you were Conan sometimes. That's why they have those big characters.
Right.
It's not
Right.
just
Right.
the muscles or the look. It's about the apex of masculine traits. Okay.
Right.
And so that's been in comics for absolutely ever. And the tides have shifted a little bit, and people have started to redefine. They've started to cut back. Oh, you shouldn't have it. I don't think that's good. I don't, and my singular answer to the whole masculinity thing of bring it back or whatever is just leave it alone, because you can make your own comic. You have the creative freedom to create whatever title you want. And when you rewrite over, say, Conan, and you start whittling him away and changing what he does or how he thinks or flipping his script, you're deleting the character. You haven't made a new one. You've deleted one. And the creator's intent,
There you go.
in the creative industry should be respected above every other thing there is. So poor Peter Parker. I mean, the right move is to create Miles Morales. That is not Peter Parker. Peter can still be Peter. Miles can be Miles. That's a good way to do it. But to take Peter and morph him into something would be a terrible shift. And they have done that with characters. And I'm like,
they have.
Masculinity needs to happen if people want to make it. And they should be respected to be able to make whatever they want, just like someone else can make whatever they want, which some might say, oh, that's crazy. But we all have our freedom, and masculine should just be left alone to evolve as it wants and be its own trait without being deleted, is my take.
Well, also there is a little bit of this in comics.
Did the volume just go off? Because I heard nothing. I put that back. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. And that is the opposite of, well, it's not the opposite of masculine. It's an entirely different category. That's sexualizing. That you know what I mean? That it's bringing out different traits. It's the erotic traits of a character, just like you'd say masculine. It's not so much feminine. That's erotic.
Right.
And that's another type of comic, which I approve of every kind of comic. I'm not some sort of, silly simpleton who only wants to do Dagwood and Blondie. No, I'm good with all of them. But at this point, I'm creating a company that's for kids. So I have to draw my personal lines of what I will do and what I won't do. And for instance, I make Conan the most masculine character I can think of, who I'm going to devolve and make a little bit more reasonable in modern times. Because you don't want to meet Conan in the grocery store. I mean, he doesn't fit in our world. And on the other end of the spectrum, I've got Rohnan. It's a female lead character to inspire women to be more than they can be, to have a hero, a role model like Indiana Jones or Laura Croft. And it's the full spectrum. And as a creator, I enjoy painting in every color. And so why are you going to take away this side of my color spectrum? I got this side too, and so it's, I don't think it's, people need to stay on their side of the fence. That's what it is. It's good fences make good neighbors. Yeah. Leave this property alone, go make your own. And I'll say this directly to Marvel. The hell is your problem? You got to do 1,000 issues of the same character. You've got 1,000 artists, and you guys can't come up with something worth new, surpassing all of those. You can't make new characters. You have to just chew on the old ones forever. It's like shoot the horse, put it down. I'd be good if Marvel killed every single title. I swear to you.
Well,
I could care less.
Well, I get it. That's one of the things that No, I mean, I've had this discussion before that I think anime, one thing they have right is they will kill off characters. They will, have an end to like one anime or one manga, and then and that's it. That's the conclusion. No more, or they'll restart it with like a new protagonist, then they'll go from there. And
until the franchise, then you're stuck. You can't take French fries off the menu.
Right,
I mean?
right.
Like that's the problem. It becomes a different business once you do that. And so let's say the 4 titles I make go somewhere, they become something. And I'm like, this is the one where I want to, cut off Encore's arm and have them go nuts and do. Then they're like, no, that doesn't fit with our plan. I'm like, oh, your plan. I see. My plan versus your plan. You got Disney running to Marvel, stepping all over the creators. They're ready to rebel. I mean, they're about they're about to explode out.
Yeah.
And it's because from the top down, the name of the game is cannibalism. And when you start doing that, you start accidentally chewing on your fingers, friend. Oh, dude, that's my hand. Sorry. I was just trying to eat something over here. I didn't know it was you. It's just bad altogether. And we're in the creative industry. We need to create, and it's lazy and it's derivative to start nagging on someone else's character. So I might have just blew up the whole discussion.
Right. But the idea, no. Any discussion's always a good discussion.
Let's go.
But we know that they're still capable of doing it right. We've had some recent examples. Let me play a trailer right quick. This is a recent example.
I know I turn everything into a joke, but I care. Or I want to use that for something important. I waited a long time for this team up. In my world, you're well regarded. You were an X-Man. Fuck that, you were the X-Man. The Wolverine. He was a hero in my world.
Yeah, well, he ain't shit in mine.
Scott used to beg me to wear this suit. So did Storm and Beast. But I couldn't have him thinking I wanted to be there. And it was too late. It's only 9 people, but my entire world is right here in this picture. And I had no idea how to save it alone, but you know how to save them.
Whoever you think I am, you got the wrong guy.
You were always the wrong guy. Till you weren't.
Are you ready? Fuck yeah, I'm ready. I'm the Wolverine.
Stop it.
I've seen it 12 times.
Well, hold on. Well, one of the I saw it a couple times myself. I
study.
But one of the things that my favorite lines. Yep. Well, one of my favorite lines is when she said that you were always the wrong guy until you weren't, and And I actually said in the theater, I was like, "That's a good line," you know. and and uh, and that's one of the things they got right. That is like it's like you said, it's still there. You know, we
Mhm.
still have these we still have these masculine characters there, and and even though they've been nerfed, they've been like twisted beyond all recognition from what they were in the comics themselves. Uh, but it's like you still have the roadmap. I mean, we still know where to find it. We still know what that is, and when people are left alone and cultural Marxists aren't riding shotgun, we could still occasionally, squint and we can see it. I mean, it's still there, right? And like your point you were making earlier, you know, and and so and when we see it, you know, I'm not saying this is a perfect movie by no ways. No shape or form was it a perfect movie, but it was just right. You know,
Mhm.
I mean, Wolverine was Wolverine. Deadpool was Deadpool. Everybody we saw, even some cameos that I won't spoil it for anybody, but there's some cameos. But when they showed up, we knew
It
that
was
that was the
spoiled
guy.
before it came
Yeah.
out. It got spoiled before it
There you
came
go.
out. I mean, no, there's no
Oh yeah.
spoiling.
Well, okay. Blade. When Blade showed up, Blade was
Yeah,
Blade, right?
yeah.
He's
That's my favorite
badass.
line in the movie. He's
Yeah.
like, I don't like you. You never did. It's like, no, that's
Exactly.
the most real thing that happened in the movie right there.
All right. Right.
Wesley Snipes does not like you, Ryan Reynolds. Even he doesn't want to be in the same room as you, and he said it
Well,
like on screen.
well,
I
the
don't like
funny thing, is Wesley Snipes did like an interview, and he's like, this whole thing about me hating Ryan and our controversy. He's like, that was Ryan's idea. He's like, we've actually been friends for years.
Well, I'm sure there's a slight
he's like,
credit to that.
he's,
Well, here
I'm
back to
sure,
something you back
but
to something you were saying on
yeah.
the masculinity or whatever. It's still there. It's you can find it.
Mhm.
No, it's
Yeah.
actually in a lot of places. It's everywhere, but DC and Marvel movies. And this is another point I have to make, which is
Right.
so much bigger than
Right.
comics. But for me, it's everything about what I'm doing because comics aren't just paper. I mean, they're powerful social
Yeah.
tools, and they need to be used well. And I'm like, or not at all, and for entertainment.
Yeah.
And there's your answer. You have to make it entertainment. So what happened is in the past
Well, there
8
are mythology.
well, in the past 8 years, politics have done this to our country, okay? And while that happens,
Right.
there was a messaging machine in control, and it was the mainstream media and the news. And anyone on any side,
Yeah.
I don't care who you are, you have to admit the mainstream media and the shift of where information is coming from is different. And the mainstream media and all of those shows that people are getting fired, they're
Right.
getting let go, they're getting canceled, they're being replaced. All of those things occurring has left the messaging machine without its delivery system. What they have done, which people need to think about,
Right.
they have hijacked Marvel and turned that into the number one tip of the spear. You're not watching a Marvel movie. You're getting the highest propaganda mechanism that they can come up with at this moment. And they're using what they think is the core of the American system of feelings and emotions and thoughts and where we derive from. We all want to be superheroes. We dress up as this and that. And it's the new Disney, the new Goofy, the new Mickey Mouse, the new Minnie Mouse, the new Daffy Duck and Uncle Scrooge. They did that for 80 years with those things. And China called Disney sugar-coated bullet factory. You get a Disney kid over in China with a backpack, they get pulled out and sent to the gulag 20 years ago. That was free thought. You can't have free thought. And Disney, in every movie they ever made, questioned authority and communism. Disney's now flipped, and now they're on the other side, and they're using Marvel movies to put the message out to change the shift. So masculinity, traditional values, whatever you want, they're everywhere, but they're not the popular, they're not the mainstream, and they don't have the force and the push. What you will see now when a rototiller goes through a garden or a forest fire burns the trees down, little saplings coming up, all sorts of trees that never saw sunlight.
Yeah.
And those guys are going to come out. And I'm telling you, we are 1 year away from Chuck Norris, Rambo, and Arnold go on a camping adventure. Believe me.
Right.
Like
right.
someone just heard me and wrote that movie. The comeback of this is because what happens when you swing a pendulum? Comes back.
It goes back the other way.
What happens when you swing it and hold it up and refuse to let it go? And you defy physics, which is what happened. Boom, that swing's going to come back and it's going to knock some teeth out and throw a kid into the yard. And so we're
twice as hard. Yeah.
But in the pipeline, which is 2 years long for movie making, 3, they already have packed it 3 years ago, and they expected to keep the swing held up and keep this all one direction. It's going to come roaring back like nobody's business. And you will hear me in 2 years going, it's okay to have feminine comic books. It's okay to be emotional.
Right.
It's okay to think about, like I have a daughter, I have a girlfriend, I have a life. My mother was one of the smartest people I ever met. I have great respect for women as well. Conan's my favorite comic book character. People can have a wide breadth of feelings and thoughts,
Well, on that point, the biggest issue is the idea that masculinity in any way, shape, or form lessens femininity, and that the two can't coexist.
That's ridiculous.
And so, it's a ridiculous idea, but that has been what's been pushed. Have you seen the commercial Gillette put out, the best that men can get?
No.
Where all these boys were told that the toxic masculinity is bad and you need to, suppress your own emotions and suppress yourself, and these kids are roughhousing, and some father steps in and says, no, this is wrong, it's like every form of masculinity, like somehow some guy is like gonna hit on a girl, and then some black guy, like, some meathead white guy is going to hit on a girl, and some, effeminate and sensitive black guy is like, no, that's wrong, man. And it's like just absolutely the worst commercial, and it just destroyed their market share. Any guy that could still get a Gillette razor after that, somebody hadn't seen the commercial. Trust me. But the guy, the CEO, he said 45% of our market share, but it was worth it because the message was important. And and it's just like that.
Is he a messaging company or a hair removal company? Is he removing facial hair, or is he trying to twist your brain?
Why is that your responsibility?
On principle alone, I turn you off. Like, as soon as you're trying to tell me how to think or rethink, I've spent 52 years of my life learning how to think for myself. I'm not going to turn it over to some goon who gets paid to think of some quippy thing to make me change my mind because they're so freaking smart. No, it doesn't work that way. And the commercial you're talking about, I will say 2 million people out of 335 million in America went, whoa, I got to adjust how I feel. Boys, toxic. And they start saying those words. 100 million houses don't give a crap. And they're out shooting their guns and riding their four-wheelers, and they didn't see the commercial, and neither did I. The impact that they say these things have are so much smaller in reality. And this is all perception at play. It's all perception. And one of my biggest problems I see now is videos that state the obvious truth. Forget comics, because you can just parallel this right in, and maybe you'll all sort your arguments out. truth in front of you, and then they say it's different. And I'll give you 3 examples that people may have seen because they're famous. Soccer game. Guy comes in to kick a penalty shot, World Cup or something. Both feet touch it slightly, so it's a penalty because you can't hit the ball with both feet. It's on replay. 49 million people arguing back and forth for 4 days. Did he touch it? Did he touch it? Did he touch it? Of course he touched it. We just saw it. People starting to talk about, oh, this didn't happen. The girl running track who lost her cool and cracks a girl in the head with a baton. I didn't hit her. It's not my fault. And it's like, honey, you got busted.
She turned to hit her.
Yeah, well, and whatever it is, I'm not getting mad at her and I'm not saying nothing, but she hit her and she ran. And now she's still running from the truth. And this is things that are clearly cut in front of our eyes, but people are like, how can I make this not real or up for discussion? And I'm like, what's wrong with you guys? And they're like, oh, look at this video of UFC fighter jogging. Someone throws him a basketball. He kicks it a quarter mile straight into a basketball hoop. And they're like, oh my God, that's real. And I'm like, I assure you it's not. You know, they're like, well, it could be real. And I'm like, good schmud. A lot of could. Superman could have flied through. Oh no, he can't fly. Well, can he? I don't know. Let's talk about it. People's brains are being turned to Swiss cheese and they can't think for themselves and they see things and they start believing it. You know what I mean? They see nothing and someone says it's something. And then they believe it. And I'm like, where'd your morals go? Don't you have an instantaneous decision on what you saw happen? And if you need more info, collect it.
Yeah.
Gather a good opinion. And then when you do, you're like, okay, I'm done. You don't wait for everyone else to tell you what to think then. You did the work. So masculinity is a cesspool of confusion on purpose. So people don't know which way is up. You know, and it used to be the kids would just pull their pants out and look down.
One example of this. There you go. But one example of that happened in North Carolina, and the girl was like she was like on Trump's speech the other night, and it was this volleyball game. Okay, the nets for women are shorter than the nets for men. And a trans athlete spiked the ball into this girl's head at velocity that only a man can achieve, and gave her head brain damage, and ruined her career and changed the course of her life.
Do you see that?
Yeah, I can see that.
Devin Larratt, Canadian Special Forces World Arm Wrestling Champ. Suppose Devin tomorrow wants to
I know
women's wrestling. How do you think that's going to turn out? He, in essence, said he feels it's a crime. You know, and it's like, tell me what woman on earth is going to fight that? And forget him. He's not even the biggest.
Exactly.
There's never been a female human the size of Shaquille O'Neal that can move and run and dunk. We have differences. And I'm not trying to, what you feel inside or how you identify, I do not care. And on top of it, which many people don't know about me, I've lived in many places, New York City, a lot of stuff. I go to clubs. I've been a bouncer. I've been in far too many fights. I defend people. And that includes everyone. And I have friends from every part of the spectrum. And I'm not going to go into who's who because it's irrelevant. But I defend everyone's rights. I'm the first one to step up and knock someone in the jaw. I mean, I'm a bit old for it and I've had to knock it off.
Yeah.
But I'm the enforcer and I believe in justice in the sense that, no, you can be right. You can be right. You can be right. But what is for sure is you have the right to feel any way you want and think any way you want. And it's not my right to start harshing on you. And the same goes for comics, creators' intent, and characters. And I'll tell you, we are going to see a ton of masculine pour out of the woodwork because of the pendulum. But it was just a target for social change. It had nothing to do with the books at all.
No.
Zero.
No, it didn't.
And that's one
Well,
reason why.
it's our hero fiction. It's our
Well,
hero fiction. So,
and I want to say to anyone watching, seeing me, this and that, there's one reason why I will never. There's not politics in here. There's not propaganda in here. It is so easy to work outside of that box and just be creative and write. Yeah, I've got bad guys. I got people who may look like a terrible person, or may seem like a murderer, or may be a murderer, or maybe the worst or best person, but those are called villains. Those are called characters. Those are people you're supposed to hate. You're supposed to know they're wrong. You're supposed to know. You're supposed to learn things from the character's point of view, just so you can judge this fake character. It doesn't carry over to me or you. It's not about that. And if I do impact children on every front, it's to help them think on their own, to empower themselves, to have decent role models, to not trash up their brain with sex, with drugs, with gratuitous violence, with social things that are far above their pay scale, things they can't even comprehend. It messes their heads up. And they take to fantasy escapes so well. And if anybody's got kids, first of all, the adults, you'll like the books too. Kids absolutely love these books. I'm not exaggerating. They're like, oh, can I have more? Can I have more? As far as I can tell, I'm going to succeed on children's stuff alone. 12-year-olds, as far as they're concerned, I've recreated Marvel. So I'm like, I'm good, you know.
Well, one of the things that I think is important, and for us going forward, is definitely we need to like restore some of the guardrails on society, and for the health of the children, you know, because having these things are protective. They've been up for centuries for a reason. Okay, and you know there has been like, you know, the chivalry, the whole entire idea of chivalry that came in was really extremely protective towards the women, right? And the men kind of like they had like rules of behavior that protected the ladies, protected their honor, protected, you know, them from
1,000 years ago
being exploited.
Yeah, 1,000 years.
Yeah, but
you know,
but you know that really go ahead.
It's part of the evolution of behavior between sexes. You know, we're together and because we have to. In the wild, in the wilderness, you got to team up. You have to do this, or else you're not going to be able to reproduce and survive as a species. It's basic natural science. Right. Then we come out of the woods and we're not fighting bears every day and getting chased by wolves. We got a cabin, but someone's got to keep up the cabin. Well, someone's also got to go kill some more wolves and chop some stuff and lift some heavy crap. They're like, well, you're better suited than I am. And I'm sure there's occasions where those roles were reversed, where there was a hefty, strong frontier woman and a frail old whiskey dad. I mean, I can't, and she's out there slamming the wood. That absolutely happened. But for the most part, the statistics and how people operated, then we get less and less reliant on needing the specificities of our different genders to do things. So now it's interchangeable. You know, from Rosie the Riveter, you know, women became active and they fought and they keep going. And now, I mean, at this point, they're you know, I can't talk on pay and I can't talk on that. And I'm sure there's disparity or whatever, but they can do everything we can do. You know what I mean? They just can't grow to be 7'3", 330 pounds and beat Shaquille O'Neal. I mean, that's my say, you know, beat chess, you know, poker, basketball. Even my sister used to kick my ass until I got 6 inches taller than her. Why didn't she get that tall? Well,
yeah, you know, Cheryl Miller. I don't know if do you know who Cheryl Miller is?
The names.
Yeah, well, Cheryl Miller. Well, she's the brother of Reggie Miller, and this woman.
Yes, Coach. Yes, I know her.
Yeah, well, once upon a time, she scored 105 points in a game,
She
and
did.
we're
Will
talking one
Chamberlain.
in her day. Yeah, in her day. No, no, this is Cheryl Miller.
Oh, I know. I'm
She did it
saying
on the
like
woman's
Wilt with
side.
100 points.
Yeah,
I've never heard of anyone but Will
yeah,
Chamberlain scoring 100 points. That's insane. Wow, I
right.
believe it.
But she used to absolutely torture Reggie when they played together. But
Mhm.
it's funny because she told stories of when they were young. They used to hustle guys on the. They'd go down to the park and her with little pigtails and him, and they'd go down to the park and they would hustle people for McDonald's money. I mean, both of them was that
Awesome.
just incredible.
That's
But
fantastic.
but she used to come home and just torture Reggie. And she said she came home from college, and she was like about to do her normal, number on Reggie. And then so she goes upstairs and like wakes him up. It's like, come on down, let's play some ball. He's like, he's like, come on down. And so she said that he walked through the door behind her, and she just turns around, and he's like 6'7", and
He's
she was
more than that.
6'1",
I think
She
he's
was
more
always a
than.
little taller than him.
Yeah, he might be more than that. I
Right.
mean, Reggie was huge and
Well,
lanky.
this was yeah, it was younger. This was younger on, but he was taller to her, and she said the first time that she did a fadeaway and he pinned it to the backboard, and she's like, oh, I got a hamstring, So she tells a story. It's hilarious, but
Now,
but
the
that's
line
the
gets
thing,
crossed.
She's
Yeah,
like,
my
yeah.
sister, I don't know if
So
it covers. My sister was a superior athlete all the way up. She had a college scholarship for sports. She was athlete of the year at her high school. Well, better than me. But then once I hit 14, she was like, we're done playing.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Like, now that I can win? She's like, psst. And I'm like,
yeah.
But no, I mean, she walked away the champ too. She was like, nah, forget you. We're done. But no, and again, the whole masculine, feminine thing. Look, people can argue all they want. I don't care. I'm not going to argue with you. I'll say what I think. I'll give you and then I'll say, okay, forget it. Leave me out of it. You can, do what I'm just doing what I'm doing. And I've got no guilt. I've got no shame. I don't need to feel like I got to explain something to somebody because I'm good-natured at heart, and I'm not trying to hurt people's feelings. And being open-minded and allowing people to do what they want, which I am that way because I insist you leave me alone.
Right.
I'm 100% like, I want to do anything I want and to think, and I'm a good-natured person, so I feel I can. And I don't want any questions. None. So I will trade you. You can do the same thing. That's my trade-off. Go do whatever you want. And I'll still be there for you. You know what I mean? And to me, I think we're all astronauts in spacesuits wearing these freaking these costumes. We're all just spirits or souls within. When I'm talking to you, I'm hearing your voice and seeing some pixels move. You know what I mean? But we're still connecting. And it's the thoughts and the words that are bridging the gap. And I think everyone's like that. So I've never seen the physical figure as much. Like I've always frankly shied away from it. You know what I mean? Myself, I've gotten on the backside of the camera. For a while they were trying to put me on the front and I didn't like it. So I went to the back, and that's why, I've photographed so many things, including nearly as many fights as anyone on earth. 300 to 400 live events with 12 to 16 fights on each card. Hundreds of gyms, hundreds of training things. And in that group was thousands of women fighting. And so masculine, feminine, this and that. I'm like, what are you talking about? Just they can sort their stuff out and they do it different ways, but never once have I ever thought the two should switch rings and fight each other. Not once.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Never once.
Well, especially, I mean, there's a triple jumper that finished the other day 8 foot ahead of the nearest female.
Yeah.
8 foot.
Yeah,
and it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
We don't have to talk about it because it's obvious, and it's the same exact thing as, did the guy hit the ball with 2 feet? Did the girl crack her in the head with the baton? Is that kick shot fake? Yes, it's all fake. That's your answer.
Yeah.
And the reason why would someone do that? Not because they want to win that argument. They want to Swiss cheese your brain and turn you into the winter soldier. I mean, here, Trump, baton, soccer ball, Elon, White House, boom, 1,000 people's heads just exploded. I'm sorry. I really don't mean to upset you.
There you go.
But you need to think about what trigger words you have installed in your head. You can say a million words at me and not one of them is going to go pick and make
it's all it's all programming. I mean, it's all programming.
I have trigger words. That's when someone comes up to me and wants to fight. You know, that's my trigger word when someone's like, no, I'm seriously coming for you. I'm like, uh-oh.
Well, you know, there's this thing that they started attaching to masculinity. They used to, you never see the word masculinity without toxic in the mainstream.
Oh, I know.
And there's a reason for that.
That's called the slide. It's a slide.
Toxic. Yeah. Yeah. And because of that, you know, right. And, you know, it's like I had this discussion with somebody the other day, and they said toxic masculinity. And I was like, no, there's just masculinity. Masculinity is masculinity. You know, there's no word, there's no descriptor necessary, you know. And I mean, you could argue,
I'm trying to think
of the destruction of women. Go ahead.
I'm trying to think of a good example that has definitions, so that, for instance,
well, I mean, when you see the destruction of
to define something, you need to give it a proper definition, so that when you apply it to a new target, that target can meet the definition or not, and you can apply it to a new target, like a square peg in a circle. You can't stick a circle in a square peg. So give me the definition for toxic masculinity, and I'm like, it could be anything. It could be you and I right now in heavy doses. Oh, for sure it is. No, it's like, you know, why? Because I got a lot of beard hair, and, you know, I think the Anthony Mackie thing, I just saw recently having a conversation. I'm trying to raise my boys, you know, to be more masculine and respectful and this and that. And it's like, I think masculinity is inherent, and you have a degree of it as people, and it doesn't really go up or down. All that happens is you act more, which I think right there, that's toxic masculinity. Acting more masculine than you are. Like if I'm sitting here in front of you, and the whole time I'm like, yeah, I make comics. And I've fought a lot. I mean, I do stuff, you know, like I do things. Behold violence. I took the shots of I am. I mean, I think that's toxic masculinity, when you try and wear more than you have, and you are or you aren't masculine. You are or you aren't feminine. I've known plenty of guys who were masculine genotype, feminine phenotype, and they had mannerisms, and they look and act certain ways, or their features. People look more like your mom than your dad, and your mom was gorgeous.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? And it's like a handsome guy, believe it or not, when I was younger, I was once handsome, has a beautiful daughter. and she looks exactly like you. And it's like, I know it's like a little mini me, but she's a beautiful girl. How does that work? And that's the phenotype, genotype, whatever.
Right.
And it doesn't mean because you look a certain way, you're masculine. It has nothing to do with it. Sometimes it does show through because of hair traits, eyebrow traits, masculine. Like masculinity is like musk. How much man stank you got on you, you know? And it's like, so if you go into a room and you really, really stank and you're covered in rodeo horse shit and you got a belt buckle on and you're strolling in and you got 14 broken bones and pins in your hip and you order a Budweiser, are you more masculine than the guy next to you who works out at the gym and lifts weights? Which one's the masculine? Right. I mean, seriously, like, and I don't know the answer, but I love that balance. Yeah. Like, which is it? The bodybuilder who plucks his eyebrows?
Well,
or the rodeo dude with no muscles? Who's masculine? Can you
well,
answer that?
Let me play a clip. Well, let me play a clip. I think to me, it's kind of sums up what masculinity is to me.
Okay. All right, let's go.
All right. Real quick.
We're meant to exact justice. Everyone's gonna know what you've done.
Well then, by exposing me, you would sacrifice the peace so many died for today.
Peace based on a lie.
But peace, nonetheless.
He's right. Exposing Adrian would only doom the world to nuclear destruction again.
No. We can't do this.
On Mars, you taught me the value of life. If we hope to preserve it here, we must remain silent.
Keep your own secrets.
Don't even think about it.
Rorschach!
Wait.
Never compromise. Not even in the face of Armageddon. That's always been the difference between us, Daniel.
I've made myself feel every day. See every innocent face I've murdered to save humanity. You understand, don't you?
Without condoning or condemning. I understand.
Out of my way. People have to be told.
You know I can't let you do that.
Suddenly you discover humanity. Convenient. If you'd cared from the start, none of this would have happened.
I can change almost anything. But I can't change human nature.
Of course you must protect Light's new utopia. What's one more body amongst foundations? What are you waiting for?
Love that movie.
Yeah.
Love that movie.
Well, yeah. But when you say
which
Rorschach, you see that that
Go ahead.
it's just to me, that even in the face of Armageddon, not being able to back down, that kind of backbone, the kind of backbone that Audie Murphy had, fighting off the Germans on a flaming tank destroyer, to protect the men under his command, that kind of masculinity that the 300 had in the Pass of Thermopylae, I mean that like ability to protect your family, protect the things you love, to push yourself beyond your limits. That's things that aren't inherent or born into a man. They have to be taught to him. He has to, aspire to it. He has to see it in the culture. He has to see it in his heroes, to have that for himself, to kind of like that's something that just has the only way that's in culture is if we put it into culture, if we put it in front of the boys and men and say, that's what you aspire to, you aspire to be the kind of person that's capable of this, and it used to be in the mythologies, it used to be in biblical stories, things like that. And and it's not, it when you destroy that, or when you break that, or when you remove it, you basically create a generation of cripples, of people who are going to go along to get along and are never going to be able to make a stand on anything.
Okay.
You basically will neuter and nerf a culture.
Okay.
So,
and here's my take on all of that. Yes, you can do that with propaganda. You absolutely can. And the propaganda was working the other way for a long time, making soldier boys in the 40s, and more than you can even comprehend. Not only that, after you're done reading this comic, making you into a soldier boy, go around your neighborhood and collect every comic and recycle it so we can make boxes for ammunition. Be a good soldier boy. No, it was active indoctrination. And it continued and it continued. And then in the 70s, it got kind of zany and crazy. And it was entertainment and wow, and there was things going on, but they weren't an engine that reached every person in the country. No one did. And the 80s were the same, and the 90s, whatever, they just fell off. And then the internet brought things more power. And then the MCU took a market this big and turned it global. So all of a sudden, our comics that were disseminated to 100,000 people are going out to 100 million. They're a lot more valuable. Everyone wants them now. There's a rush towards the market. People start getting in there. Marvel gets a hold of it. Disney gets a hold of that. And then you've got the machine in effect again. And for whatever reason, yes, that effective, as you say, not I, but it could. You could neuter a generation. You could weaken. You could change their minds. I'm saying they're Swiss cheesing everyone's brains openly. I think it's about Swiss cheesing, just weakening your resolve to think and have analytic thought. But as far as the male-female thing, there was a huge push to open up for other genders and identity politics and all of that, which got pervasive. But at the same time, my honest take from the beginning to the end of that, I'm like, Ronan could do that. And she could also inspire a young boy. It doesn't take either one to do that. Like I said, we're in spacesuits. So maybe my spacesuit looks like a woman. Maybe in another place I'm this and that. But I'm telling you, I'd be the same damn force I am right now. And I'd be just as likely to deck you in the mouth because of my spirit.
Yeah.
And it's you are what you are on the inside.
Right.
I really, really do side with that. But I also am on the side of reason. Like, don't tell me it's on an equal playing field, 7-foot dude. And, you know, every single Olympic sport in the world for 100 years has basically scientific data on what the greatest men and women can do. And it's everywhere. Long jump 30 feet versus 24, high jump 7 feet versus 6'4", you know, the 100, 44 versus 51. Like, they all have this thing, and it's obvious, some sports more or less, but it's crystal clear. It's a fact. And anytime you jump a category, you're going to win. So that argument, I'm not trying to get in because people get upset and they get sunk deeper into somewhere else where I'm like, no, you're good everywhere else. Everywhere else, don't care. But the messaging of raising strong young boys or strong young girls, I gave the same message to my daughter that I would have given to my son had I had one. However, I had to take into account her nature and her femininity or her masculinity or whatever she was. And she's a beautiful young woman. You know what I mean? She's 19, whatever. But you deal with what you have and you work with it to make sure they're happy. And you sure as hell don't confuse them. It's confusing enough. Right. I mean, Jesus, it's so harder than hell to grow up. And they need assistance. They need friends. They need someone to say, I believe in you. I think you can do it. I think you can get there. And so for what you're saying, yes, young boys and young girls both need strong role models. And what used to be messaged mostly and only in the masculine culture definition are things that women can do too. Single moms, dear God. I mean, they take care of so many things. They got to work the job. And one who I'm familiar with has to, you know, professor college, run 2 kids back and forth to school, manage the house, cook all the meals, do all of this, all for herself, all by herself, you know. And what she'd really prefer to be doing is being Ronan Riley. That's who the character is based on, that exact person. And you know, I don't, there's role model and then there's role model.
Well, see,
you know,
well, I mean, it's like Ripley from Aliens, you know, Alien and Aliens and, you know, the whole series, you know, but she was she was feminine, but when she had to go kick butt, you know, she found that gear, but mostly it was the mother bear in her that kind of rose up. And, but at the same time, she didn't go beyond what should be her physical limitations. She cheated a lot. She, you know, hopped into loader to fight the queen. And, but it all, like, they didn't have her kicking grown men through walls and stuff like that. What they basically did was they worked with it. But she was no less scary. She was no less badass. You know, what I'm saying is feminism is not like diminished in any way, shape, or form. You can have heroic feminism, you know, and it's just as amazing as heroic masculinity. But when you start cross-pollinating and start like you know, blurring the lines, that's when we run into trouble as a culture. That's when you have young girls trying to beat on guys until they get slammed, which happened just the other day. Videos online. But, you know, that's basically, there's nothing wrong with having those heroic females doing amazing things and being inspirational for girls. You know, I mean, Lara Croft, who I'm doing on Thursday on the character autopsy, has been inspiring young girls for generations and young boys. But
That's
at the
my
same
point.
time, it may be a different way.
That's more to
But
my point.
at the same time, go ahead.
Laura Croft is at 90, I think it's 94 or 5 or so, or 6. And, you know, I'm playing it, and all of a sudden you're jumping ledge to ledge, backflips with the double pistols and the dogs and the swimming, and nobody cared.
Right.
That it was a few, and the boys were like, "Hey, I can see a girl running around with a little bounce to her," and so she was a hero because of the sexualization of her first, but no one questioned what she was doing in the game or how she did in the game. They're like, "No, that's dope," because you know Indiana Jones could do that, or whoever my guy is, whatever. That's whatever, and then it became and Ripley. That whole aliens thing with Ripley is, I see it, if there is a message to that, which I do believe there's a subtle, full breath message, is it's the future. No one gave a shit about sexuality anymore. When she comes out of her cryo freeze or her nap or whatever, she's wearing the underwear and the tank top, not as the sexy or sorority girl, but as the dude coming out of the locker scratching his nuts. And not because that's a masculine thing to do or a feminine thing to do. It's a human thing to do. And instead of focusing on, well, what makes you this and what, forget it. Can people just go back to doing things? And if I happen to walk like this, I walk like this. If I walk like this, I walk like this. Don't make it a point of, why do you walk like that? Well, it's just because of my limbs. If you start acting and embellishing your characters for the sake of messaging your sexuality or masculinity or femininity, you've lost your story plot. You're not writing a story anymore. And so it's like, well, just focus on your story. Stay on your own character. If you don't like a character, write your own. We're in a creative business. Don't be lazy. Make a new one. And when you go to start editing other people's characters, you're not editing, you're deleting them. And you've left a void. So when you rewrite Conan, for example, which they haven't, what happens to the original Conan if you do that to him? Where is he now? And he's gone. It's the same as burning books. It's the same as information control. They've done it through all the history of time. And whenever you want to take over and make a new way and take old definitions, make them new, and then blame the old people who think the old way as a problem, that's the definition of woke. Redefining a term and then blaming someone for still having it. And it's like,
there you go.
Enough of it. Done. And I've, and again, now that we're here, if anyone's watching or people see this ever, we don't traffic in that. We don't play in it. I don't want to play with you. I don't want to argue with you about it. You're going to find really simple, clear-cut answers come out of my mouth. And I'll be like, yeah, okay, goodbye. And we can all play together. I'm here to make friends. I want to be friends with people. If you can't tell, you missed the whole video and you don't get me. I'm sorry.
There you go.
Maybe next time.
Well, if you want to, on that note, I think that's a good place to end. On that, I can't think of anything better to summation. If you want to check out Blue Shack Comics, it's pinned in the chat over there. It's also in the description, the website. So check that out. And we will see you next time. Character Autopsy, I did say, is going to be Lara Croft. Oh, there you go. Cool. The Character Autopsy this Thursday is going to be Lara Croft. And actually this Saturday, we're going to talk about the Battle of the Sexes, Bobby Riggs versus Billie Jean King. Was it rigged? That's going to be Saturday. Yep, that's Saturday. At 7.
Don't know. Do you think it was before you get there? You do?
I do.
I mean, and I honestly haven't studied. If I take 2 hours, I'll give you my answer because I'll watch it. I'll study it. Watching sports and documenting sports I'm a professional at physical nuance. And I could tell you, I'll watch it and actually maybe chime in with you. But no, I'm aware of that. What was that, like early 80s, 70s?
70s. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It's,
It was when I
early,
was really young. No, and I remember
early
Billie Jean.
70s. Yeah.
She was good though.
Yeah.
She's really good.
She was good, but she had trouble with Margaret Court, and Bobby Riggs just ruined Margaret Court. And then when he went up against Billie Jean King, suddenly he couldn't hit a drop shot.
Okay.
So
Well,
there you go.
What about Andy Kaufman? Did Andy Kaufman really beat all those women wrestling? I'm kidding.
No, he did not.
All
right. Well, thank you for coming on with me, man. We
Thanks
will
for
see
having me,
you.
bud.
So we'll see you all out next time here on the Rabbit Hole. Follow the White Rabbit. Bye, everybody.
Irish.
Aaron going bra.
Thank you.